Okay. So hi, this is the Post-Racial Podcast. Obviously, we're on a video stream today. So remember that post is scratched out because nothing is post-racial. But we're super happy to be here with you today. This is Sasquatch. He's going to join us for a little while.
So cute. So we are so fortunate today to be with Sheila Ramgopal, Allegheny Reproductive Health Center Medical Director, and we're just going to open it up here. Sheila, will you just tell us who you are? And we like to leave it wide open because we're always so much more than our jobs, but anything about who you are and what you do that you want to share.
Totally. I am Sheila. They, them, theirs. And I am an OBGYN in Pittsburgh. My full-time job is at Allegheny Reproductive Health Center, which is a comprehensive reproductive health care clinic. So we do kind of everything there related to like reproduction. The Allegheny Reproductive is my home away from this home. And I'm super, super lucky to have an amazing team that works with us and is like super dedicated to the work that we do, which is phenomenal to be happy to go to work every day. I was born and raised in Oklahoma. I lost my accent a long time ago, but I used to have an awesome drawl. It was the best.
What is an Oklahoma accent?
Dude, it was just like a lot of y'alls. I still say y'all, but a lot like drawl, man. It was amazing. And then, so after I left Oklahoma at 18, then like did school in Philly and New York, and then came here to Pittsburgh for medical school, and then have been here since. And I'm never leaving, ever, which is awesome.
You know. It's hard to tell by that.
I know. I know.
You stuck Sydney in, huh?
Yeah, Sydney, you're here too. We're all here. I feel like Pittsburgh is the kind of place that does suck you in, and you're just like, I'll just be here forever. It's all good. It's all good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have, since coming to Pittsburgh, I feel like as a person, I've changed a ton, right? Like I came in with a very like blinder mindset. Like I was in school, that's all I did. I had my like the way I was raised and my like background. But Pittsburgh has been a place where I've found a lot of people and support networks that have really changed who I am as a person. And I don't think without these experiences, I would not be where I'm at right now. And I wouldn't be the person I am right now. And I feel very lucky and really fortunate to have been able to have all these opportunities. I feel very privileged. And I feel like I've gotten to this place because of a lot of other people, like in their care and their love. Yeah, that's about it. I can go into details if you want.
Oh, you're just so cool. Okay, so I guess like the first place to start is really, what are the main issues that you're seeing right now for people in your field, people that you serve, people that are sharing your experience in any way? What's going on? What's happening in this age of COVID-19 pandemic in your world?
Yeah, so there's so many aspects to it that are super crazy, right? Like there's the work aspect and people trying to access care aspect, and then there's the trauma aspect, and then there's the failure of our healthcare system and government and everything else aspect, and then also the aspect of like we're stuck in our fucking homes and we can't go anywhere, or we shouldn't go anywhere because that's actually good for our community. But at the same time, it's like puts a lot of people in really tough situations, and it puts a totally different strain on your relationships and on your ability to survive as a medical provider. So as an OBGYN that does abortion work and delivers babies and does gynecology care and everything, like we're trying to figure out how to deliver care to people as safely and responsibly as possible, understanding that people need the care that they need when they need it. So like if we just want to like talk about abortion services, obviously abortion services are super essential healthcare, and we're seeing so much of media coverage about it right now, and we saw it even before too. I mean, abortion's so politicized in this world, and it shouldn't be because it's healthcare. But since it is political, I will continue to speak of it in political ways too, and we will always be advocates for our patients. It's so important to continue to provide access to these services, because no matter what, people are going to seek out abortion. And by us being abortion providers, we're keeping it safe. By keeping it legal, you're keeping it safe. So COVID and abortion is super complicated, right? So states have put these mandates out that we need to stop any non-essential or elective care. So that has been turned into a political tool in many different states. We're really lucky in Pennsylvania that Tom Wolf and our mayor have been really supportive of abortion access in this region and as a state as a whole. So as providers, we are still able to provide essential healthcare services, including abortion services. Just take today, for example, like we're doing abortions and we're doing fertility treatment and we're seeing obstetric patients. Like we are still taking care of everyone no matter what they need, because reproductive health is super essential. So that's our clinic. It's hard, right? You're trying to keep our clients safe, but we're also trying to keep our staff safe. So we have frontline staff who are working daily and even at late into the night, and like there's no boundaries, right, with COVID. So we're always talking about it. We're always thinking about it. This is one of my dogs. If you see him, he likes to cuddle during Zoom meetings. I'm going to tell you guys a really gross thing that happened, and I'm just going to say it.
Yeah.
I was like petting him, and like I was, so like he's gotten really into, like, we were just like massaging, and I'm massaging like down his body, and then I'm like massaging, and I'm like, oh, massaging his leg, whatever. It wasn't his leg. I was totally massaging his penis. And I was in this Zoom call with a bunch of ridiculous. It was in a Zoom call with all these birth workers, and I was like, I was massaging his penis. It was so fucked up. No, he was chill. He was chilling.
I bet.
Not weird to us. Nothing is weird.
I know. I mean, I talk about penises and vaginas all day long, so it's like normal. But, it was awkward.
It's really not sure how you're going to top that with, I know you have a lot of good things to say, but that was pretty solid.
Yeah. It's so true, though, that like humanizing that has to happen in everything,
Yeah, seriously. So like, yeah, so I digress. But yeah, so like, and one big thing to know about me is I digress real easily. Like I have some ADD. We're all very open about it. I can tell you all about my mental health stuff, because I'm also really open about that too. But
I specialize in ADD treatment.
Do you? I need you in my life.
My lover and I,
he
has ADD and has inspired me. This is when you were talking, I was like, this is literally my life right now.
Dude, you should seriously, like, my husband has been spending the last 10 years trying to navigate our relationship with my problems. Not my problems, but the way I am. Yeah, man, yeah.
Literally love him so much. I became a therapist.
That's so cool. That is so cool.
Everything. I'm already an expert.
You're like, I have the lived experience. This is it.
Kindred spirits. I knew there was something.
Yeah, dude, yeah. So like our big thing right now, like my big thing is keeping our staff safe, keeping our clients safe. And also to like navigate through the fear, and also ensuring people that our doors are open and we're still here to provide the like non-judgmental, loving, respectful care that we always have, but to even a higher level because of what is happening in our world right now.
Are you all getting everything you need? Do you have the things that you need? in terms of, masks and anything else that's happening? Are you finding it hard to?
It's a loaded question. It was like it was a struggle initially to get PPE. So like you guys are hearing in the media that, healthcare providers are having trouble getting PPE, so personal protective equipment, not only just masks, but even goggles, gowns, everything, like gloves, even, like everything is on back order or so much more expensive than it ever was. Like Purell has tripled to quadrupled in cost to get Purell. Like it's just so crazy.
Like the cheapest thing you can make.
It's fucking alcohol, gel, water. I don't know how you make it.
Do you all have to order from them? Or can you get anything from anywhere?
So we can get anything from kind of anywhere. We just try to get it as quickly as possible at the most reasonable price. We have like our medical vendors that we typically order all of our medicines from, our equipment from.
Are you familiar with the local booths? Faber?
No.
They are selling hand sanitizer. They're changed as they are local. They make vodka, gin. This is not a commercial. This is just because I literally could not find hand sanitizer, and I have some serious autoimmune issues, and I've been afraid to leave the house. I couldn't find it anywhere. And they are now making this instead of their booze. And so maybe you guys can talk.
Dude, I am so in.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
very cool. Cause I was just thinking about like, who's able to provide this that's not just like the obvious stuff. And it was, super affordable. And if anybody else gets this, you just put a little drop of your favorite smell, little oil, lavender, whatever, and it smells good. Because a lot of people think this stuff smells bad. But you can make it smell like whatever.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, maybe
I'll just be like throwing it on people when they walk in the building, and myself. I'll be like bathing in it.
I just think it's cool that there's so many other people that we don't think of that can do these. People sewing masks, people making things, people, instead of making vodka, making hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I should totally, because you said that, I need to plug this person who's local. Her name is Jody. She sewed us 20 fabric masks for our staff and is making 20 more for for our clients to wear. It's like, oh my God, Jody is the jam. I'm going to share it on social media because Jody is the jam.
Yeah, send us the her info and we can.
Well, we need to like love the Jody. Love me some Jody. Yeah, it's awesome. And like Jody was like on Facebook Messenger last night, like talking me through how to clean them and iron them. It was awesome. I was like, I'm going to set up an ironing board in the basement and be like ironing at night after we wash the masks. It's going to be so great.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Jody.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing
super cool.
How people are coming together to be so creative. But at the same time, I don't know how you feel about this, but it's something I've been thinking about a lot. Like people like always do this. Communities will always be this way, right? And it's still just like such a shame that we always have to solve these problems ourselves.
Right.
And I think that's kind of the place that I've been in, is just sad about like, yeah, like here we are, we're all like over here up all night sewing, doing this, switching over our whole, small business, whatever to something else, and there's still so many other larger systemic problems that make it so we have to do this,
Yeah, like why is it always a scramble at the last minute? Like when it's already too late, not just that, but our public health response to this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So we're
as a nurse too, so who has pretty sure is not getting the stuff that they need where they are either, huh?
Yeah. Like our, like the fact that like we are getting a mask and having to reuse it over and over and over, is like, what? Yeah. Just a couple days ago, y'all would have been like, no fucking way. And now we're having to do this. Like,
and how criminal is it? It seems so criminal to like make Purell 5 times more expensive. Like,
right.
Yeah. And that is always the response. We'll just jack up this price.
Yeah.
Call it good.
Yeah.
We're going to make it through this recession.
I know. And so like, with all of that increase in cost, it like totally increases your overhead, right?
Mm.
And then and then, the government's like, oh yeah, apply for this PPP and the CARES Act and whatever. And oh yeah, I spent 4 days in a row trying to like repetitively apply for these things. System crashes. Have we seen any money? No. Like,
Yep.
and like all we want to do is pay our staff and like protect people. And like I want to give our staff hazard pay. I want to like give people extra. Like we've been giving like, we have set up like 30 or 40% of our staff to work from home. And so like gave computers to everybody and all that stuff. But then, that leaves the staff that are in our office shorthanded. And it's just, why is it a scramble? And like, I just want to keep people, like we just want people to be safe. And
no more fucking billionaires, man.
dude.
No more billionaires, because this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous that the poorest people and the people with the least right now are the ones scrambling, making all this happen, making sure everything is happening.
And clearly people of color along that intersection are even like, come the fuck on. Like, and who's really, in the end, who's benefiting from this? A lot of rich fuckers.
Mm-hmm. A lot.
Yeah.
Well, you all saw probably that our favorite, well, not our favorite, she's the worst, Wendy Bell.
Shit.
Did you read that?
I refuse. Anything that has Wendy Bell's name on it, I just like.
Yeah, I actually only read it because Damon Young wrote about it, and I can read everything that he writes because he's hilarious. But
That's beautiful.
He must have said something along the lines of like, yeah, basically, let's just kill the old people. Why do they need to? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's interesting to see, where everybody sort of falls, where their humanity falls. Mm. But, so with that being said too, I'm just so happy to be talking to you. I feel like we should be best friends.
Oh my God, yeah. Let's totally hang out when the fucking COVID's over.
Yeah, when
we're not pandemicking. Sydney, you and I are gonna like drink. We're gonna drink. We're gonna drink the hand sanitizer. Faber and us are gonna be best friends.
I think most from Oklahoma and Sydney's from Minnesota. So,
yeah, when we get drunk, the Minnesota and Oklahoma accents can come out and just be great.
Dude, yes.
Do you all get iced in Oklahoma? Do you know what this is?
No.
Oh my God, I cannot believe that this conversation made it here to icing.
So funny. So Sydney's getting married. She looks so beautiful. She's this beautiful gown. And then all of a sudden someone walks up to her with a paper bag with some Zima in it.
And Zima?
Supposed to be Smirnoff ice.
Smirnoff. I don't know. She gets down on the ground in this dress. I am like mortified, She's on the ground in this beautiful dress. I'm like, what is she doing? And she just starts chugging on her knees all this Smirnoff.
On your knees?
You have to get down on the ground. One knee. But this is called getting iced.
I've never heard of that.
Me neither. So
is this a Minnesota thing?
I think it's like Minnesota, maybe out in the
area.
A little, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
In the audience, let us know because we want to know.
I want to know.
Who does getting? Is it college thing? Is it a white person thing? Is it a Midwest thing? What is it?
It's probably a really unhealthy intersection of all of those.
Yeah.
Can get
like a Northwoods, Minnesota thing. That's all I can confirm.
I mean, I did a lot of drinking in Oklahoma starting at age like 13. So all these things sound appropriate.
Yeah. There's a whole group of things where mostly your main activity is drinking and you try to make it more interesting.
I know. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. So just like one quick question. Well, we have like one or two major questions left, and then we can talk about whatever. But
unrelated to
I've been thinking about identity too. Just that's what it reminded me of. Like, get back on track. Oklahoma, Minnesota. I'm from Brazil, but I was raised here in Wilkinsburg, Pittsburgh. But so in speaking of that, how do you see identity and relationships uniquely impacting people who share your experience? So this is kind of similar to the question from before, but this is more personal, you know? So how is this, you know, what is this looking like for you at home, et cetera, et cetera? And then after you answer that, Sydney, the rest is on you to remember, because I think I'm on a coffee high and you're just going to have to take control here.
Getting twitchy.
A little twitchy, so.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'll add, and we'll just let you go, is identity, like relationships specifically. So I totally want to hear your experience, however much you want to share. If there's anything like within confidentiality about clients that you're seeing, like the specific way that identity plus relationships, that if this whole experience is impacting that, both sides of those.
Yeah,
Cool.
the complexity and the nuance of it all.
Yeah, yeah. I was telling you guys earlier, I think, like the way that the way that I am now is literally about the relationships that I've had with people, and being so lucky to have been in the different situations that I went through, and some were really hard and some were really awesome. And but it really was about the people who took me along those experiences that made me who I am now. I've had a really complex relationship with my family. Should I do personal stuff and then professional?
However
I can try and like organize in my mind. So yeah, like personally, from a very young age. So growing up in Oklahoma, there weren't many people who were like me when I got there, when I was born there. When I was very young, I actually never identified as a girl. Do you know what I mean? And I was put into a very strict gender role from a very young age, even though I was saying all these like interesting things like, oh my God, I wish I had a penis. And I wish that and repetitively, I didn't want to dress the way I was dressed. I didn't feel comfortable in the body that I had. But then navigated that in a very unhealthy way. So
talking about around here.
What was that?
What age range are we talking about here?
I can kind of remember feeling those feelings at like 6, 7, 8, around there. My schooling was in a private school, like super privileged upbringing, in a private school in Oklahoma that, because the public school system in Oklahoma City wasn't super great. And so was put in this school, which was an Episcopal school, mainly, very privileged white people. And I was a very privileged brown person in that, but made it difficult to sort of like fit in and find people. Like I've actually never felt like I have my people. Do you know what I mean? Like I've never felt like I had a real community. When I was young, dance is really what got me through everything. So from a very young age, I was really, really depressed and had a pretty chaotic family life. There was like a lot of emotional abuse and sometimes physical abuse. And I used art and dance as sort of an escape and really like a sanctuary. So I always those are the things that I really remember is like my dance teacher, the people I danced with, the people who had that shared experience of, us telling stories through dance and us able to express things through dance. I did classical Indian dance called Bharatanatyam, and really opened up the way that I perceive spirituality and interconnectedness of things. I grew up in a Hindu family, did this very traditional Hindu dance, went to this Episcopal school, but all these people had various different religious backgrounds within Christianity, but also people who are Buddhist and Muslim and like all kinds of really great backgrounds. And so when I was young, not only was I trying to figure out my identity as my gender identity, I was also trying to figure out my spiritual religious identity. I converted religions, I think 8 times. I used to lie, because it was Episcopal school. They also had like almost like a mass, like you would get like, you know, the wine and the bread and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I lied and I was like, I was baptized when I was young because one of the people in my family was Christian, so they baptized me, so I'd like to take communion.
Can I tell you? I did the same thing. I never.
Shut the fuck up.
Well, what I said was I'm Brazilian, which means I was obviously baptized before I came to the United States because I wanted to be like everybody else and take communion.
Yes, dude. Yeah.
Anybody before?
I like feel so dirty that I just told you that because I haven't told many people.
I mean either.
So now y'all know. Anyone who's watching from Cassidy, I'm very sorry.
Yeah, St. James. So, I probably really was baptized though.
I wasn't.
I don't know.
Although my family is from Kerala, which is like the southwestern tip of India, and actually like it's 1/3 Hindu, 1/3 Christian, and 1/3 Muslim populations. So it's like actually really diverse. So it's not super surprising.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely lied. I learned to lie at a very young age. I think we all did. But damn, it was.
Was like, is it lying or is it performing? Is it like safety? Like there's so many layers.
I think it was a combination, right? Like, I think you're totally right. It was like, how do I keep myself the safest? And I think, you know, tried to navigate these different worlds, you know, like, and being a non-Christian person, I was like told I'm going to go to hell every couple days by my peers, you know, like it was interesting. But it's made all of that journey from like growing up has made me where like who I am now. And I'm really like appreciative of that, you know? And then coming to like all the journeys in between. So like really had a long history of depression from a very young age. Like I was put on antidepressants as a very young person. I think I was like 10 or 11 when I was put on like my first antidepressants, and have like navigated, you know, the mental health care system, you know, for a long, long time. Like when I was young, I actually can't even name how many times, I can't give you a number on how many times I tried to commit suicide. Like so many times, because I was like, I'm just going to escape. Like there's no need for me to be here. I didn't feel like I had a community, you know, and I couldn't be me. Like I didn't feel like I could ever be me. But having that experience, I feel like it's made me a better person and a better provider. You know, like it's really helped to hone my, like those like empathy skills and everything, and normalizing it. It's so important to normalize this stuff, right? Which is why I'm super open about like, yeah, I have a history of depression, and there are days when I feel really sad, and like, and I'm back on Zoloft now because of all this crazy shit, right? Like I think it's so important that like the person that you're seeking care from, that you know that person's a human, and they can also relate a little bit to what your experience is, or you can connect in that way. I think it's super important.
I'm trying not to cry. Yeah. Listen to this on the podcast and not see.
No, stop. It's fine. I cry all the time. I watch commercials and I'm like, oh my God, that's beautiful. and then
laughing. It's like the same thing for me. It's like,
yeah. I'm so appreciative that because I totally hear everything you're saying, and also not everyone, it's still like a risk in ways, or feels like, or we're told it's a risk to be honest about those things. And there are people that like, it's not always received, you know, or some people who are uncomfortable or whatever. And so, but like at the end of the day, putting words to that and being vulnerable is a gift for us listening to like that honesty. So, but it's still really scary. And so I don't know.
You know, just how that taking the risk and then seeing the consequences. So like, you know, we have protesters at our clinic on like Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And when I did this like one interview, and there was like an article that got published, and one of the one of our regular protesters, she was like, well, you should just go kill yourself since you're killing all, I mean, like, just like, and then talking about my depression and just being like, this is why you're depressed, because you do the work you do. And I'm like, dude, the fact that I can support people's bodily autonomy and like be able to create a space where people feel comfortable, whatever their identity, is literally what saves me every day. It like prevents me from being depressed, is like, because I know I never had that, like, and I want to create safe spaces, because we don't have that in hospitals. Like my old job I worked in private practice and I worked in UPMC, and, like, just fighting for people's autonomy and like was a uphill fucking battle, and like trying to openly talk about systemic racism and how our race, like our biases and our racism has like changed the care that we deliver to people, especially to Black women. I was fucking shot down multiple times by administration. And so now to be able to have a place where we can create safe places for people is so important, and it's saved me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's how Sydney and I feel similarly too. That's why we are always kind of joking, but it's real. It's like we could never do this anywhere.
Yeah.
We had to do it ourselves,
Yeah.
I think what you're saying is so important and so beautiful too, because sometimes when I'm working with clients, I think that mental health is intergenerational trauma and a direct response to like our bodies now and in the past and what is happening to us that has been normalized but is not normal. Right. And so thinking about it that way, when I have you just made me think about this, because when as an outsider you hear someone who is who I'm like, wow, the work you do is so phenomenal and beautiful, and and then knowing that you're so open with suffering from depression. And something that I talk to my clients about often is how, it's because the world is not a humane place that you feel this way. It's like the more in touch with your humanity you are, the more painful it is. Mm-hmm. And so kind of changing that perspective, like there's nothing wrong with you. It's actually that you probably are tuned in even more than the average person. The cognitive dissonance is what is really killing us,
Yeah.
And so just kind of switching that, I think, is so important, as a person who, I also have depression, PTSD, generalized anxiety mostly, obviously. Obvious? So it's just interesting to, to bring these perspectives in. And I'm also in a space that, luckily, I work with Forward Wellness, which is like phenomenal. We're totally allowed to do all this stuff.
That's awesome.
I was practically like told to get out of school, the whole nine. Therapy's not a place for people like me, so we're not encouraged in those spaces to explore these things. So I'm just so grateful for you on so many levels. And I swear we have to be best friends.
Yes.
Please.
Love you. You're best. That's awesome.
This is how I get all my friends.
Zoom chats. Mid-afternoon Zoom chats. I know.
Friday afternoon chats.
Yeah.
I think there's one more thing specific, right? Am I reading this?
Well,
oh yeah, how are you doing? Right?
Yeah. What's helping you? What's hard and what's helping you?
Oh shit, I thought we were asking Sydney that question.
Oh no.
Okay. Yeah. How am I doing? So you mean like in the current everything? Mm-hmm. So, I feel in a lot of ways really powerless, to support people the way I wish I could support people, and feel a lot of like regret that I can't just give everybody free fucking healthcare. Mm. Like, how the fuck are people even able to afford like food or their housing or phone service or internet or whatever, let alone trying to pay for your healthcare, which should be a fucking basic human right? you know, like, I'm just going to put something political out there because, you know, I had a lot of hope with, I know that Bernie is an old white man, but I did like his message. And so, you know, I feel like sad. I was wearing my fucking Bernie sock. I had socks that I got from the Hustler store in, where was I? Oh, in New Orleans. It was awesome. The store had these awesome socks, and I got like ostrich ones, peacock ones, some shark ones, and then Bernie. This was in 2016 when I was like, I was still like, oh, whoever gets nominated, I'm gonna vote for them. You know, like, but then I brought back the Bernie socks and I was so happy. But now that Bernie's dropped out, I'm really sad. But I know, because we need radical change, right? Like what we were talking about, you know, the systems that we currently have in place, they're not working. We need to make new systems. We need to recruit people into our political world who are actually going to create radical positive change. And obviously, like, I'm a very progressive person. But I feel like putting ourselves in these little categories and like boxing ourselves into these little like worlds, like we're not having the conversations we should have, just like what you're talking about. Like when you build relationships, it's so important, right? So the one example is my husband was talking to these folks. He was doing some construction stuff and he was talking to some older folks who we always assumed were super conservative. We just like kind of we didn't really talk to them much. We were always like, hey, if you need anything, we'll help you, because they're cute and they're just amazing, just really lovely people. But we always thought that we wouldn't see eye to eye on certain types of issues. But when my husband spoke to them and he came back and talked to me, he was like, dude, Sheila, these people were awesome. They are savvy. They really like we were able to connect so deeply. And just by talking and just by like humanizing, right? Like, I feel like we are like, I'm still learning every single day to like keep building those relationships and not block things off, and trying to learn how to like apologize if I've fucked up, or call someone out, you know, if I just went on all kinds of tangents. I'm so sorry. This is how my brain works.
The greatest tangents, if they even are, and it's all connected anyway.
It really is. It's beautiful.
So just brilliance, like it's all connected. It really is.
All connected. It's like that. Like I said earlier, it's like Avatar movie. We are all connected.
We are. It's so true. We really are. Read to me over the years. Can you all hear me?
It got a little crazy for a second and then it's back.
Now?
We're good now. Yeah.
A poem, I think there was like so much laughing that it like overwhelmed the system or something.
That's awesome.
But you know, anyway, and none of this matters.
It all matters.
We're just we're really just, there's the Lucille Clifton poem, and they talk about in this poem, you know, that we're all star shining clay, and I always think about that in my head, star shining clay, you know, that we really are, you know, all part of this, and so we are so we're gonna have to figure out a way to talk to you like 100 times. I don't know.
Oh my God.
But we're
next time in person.
Right.
Numbers know that people don't listen to things this long typically. So we're going to have to figure out another way to get you back on to talk about stuff.
For sure.
Thank you so much. This was such a
awesome,
beautiful Friday afternoon. It was like snowing this morning and terrible, and now it's just lovely.
That's awesome.
Yes, I feel like I have a reason to go on today.
Yes. Can I tell you guys about like our new product that I really think you'll both love?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so with all the like birth work, doulaing situation. So the one thing that like has obsessively taken up my time for the last couple of days is actually trying to create a birthing, like prenatal and postpartum and delivery model for people. So we're actually like, we are partnering with the community birth workers. So like the, Amethyst Midwifery, Steel City Midwives, like all these different, and like the births, like everybody. So actually trying to create a place where people can birth outside the hospital. So
important.
It's huge, and trying to do it in a collaborative way, because obviously there's people that birth at home all the time, right? So 4,000 to 5,000 births happen every year in Pennsylvania at home. But to protect people from COVID and decrease community spread and decrease hospital spread, our goal is to keep all the healthy people who want to do this outside of the hospitals and birth in our community. So we're actually partnering with a hotel in East Liberty to do this. And right now we're like looking for funding and trying to like get all this stuff up and running. But this is like obsessively taken up everything that I've been doing for the last like several days. But it's so important that we create, and like in a proactive way, create places where people are going to be safe having the birth and the vision that they want, right? Like people are going into hospitals and they're only allowed to have one person. There have been so many human rights abuses that have happened not only locally, but nationally and across the globe because of COVID and how it's affected people accessing birth care. It is crazy. I have a bunch of resources if you guys want to share it, like where you can report human rights abuses. We're part of like this global perinatal task force to try and spread this. So the model that we've designed is actually super ahead of what other people in the nation, the world are doing. So we have this, like, this thing is like ready and like up and ready to go if we need to in a week. Like we have everything ready. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Telling people. Yeah, and I can give you tons of resources too. So obviously, like in the US, our medical system, and especially obstetrics, is very litigious, right? Like everyone's really worried about being sued or having a bad outcome. And the way that obstetrics is practiced is very much to avoid that type of litigation. So pretty much everything that we do, like our cesarean rates, the way that we prioritize the baby over the birthing person, like the fetus gets prioritized over the birthing person on a national level. That's like the first base. That's just one part of why the system is the way it is. And so we prioritize the fetus over the mom or over the birthing person. And so then the way that home birth works is in a lot of other countries, in Europe, UK, like all these different like professional organizations in other countries. They say that home birth is safe and out of hospital birth is safe for the appropriate people. Like if you're a low risk person and don't have any major medical problems and meet certain criteria, home birth or birth outside the hospital is super, super safe. Like the AABC, which is the American Association of Birth Centers, just put out like this statement about out of hospital birth. They didn't include home birth because they're a birth center, but there's tons of data that actually says having a home birth or birthing outside of the hospital is still very safe if you're the appropriate person. And the majority of people are, right? And then when you're out of the hospital, your pregnancy and your birth is not as medicalized as it is in a hospital. It is really hard to find hospitals that will support physiologic birth on a large scale. Like as a provider of someone who has gone from being very medicalized to not medicalized, like I'm fucking lotus birthing people. I'm like, oh yeah, get that golden hour, like don't touch anything. Like I have, my dream is actually to become a midwife, but like I was told that I have to go back to midwifery school and I was like, I don't have money for that. So I'm like, midwifery care is I tell everybody this, midwifery care is the answer, because it's it's person-centered care. It's person-centered. It treats you as a human. It like doesn't like midwives don't make this medical. Like this is the most natural, beautiful, powerful thing that your body can do as a uterus, having someone who has a uterus or not or whatever. But it's so important that we're creating places where people can get this information to know what their actual options are and not just be driven by fear. Because the way that OB providers are giving people advice is really based out of fear. And so like we need to create, just like you were saying earlier, like we really have to think about this from a love and trust perspective. Like if we used love and trust as the basis of everything we do, it could literally change the world. And birth. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the fuck. Yes. Birth is the world.
I know.
The uterus is the universe. Yes, Sydney. Yes.
So does Liana. I think we just
both of you.
I'm a little more birthy. Yeah. There was at one point during like Leon and I were in the same doula training where someone said quoting someone saying, if I wanted to disempower whole generations, I would target birth. And I was like, oh, that's so crazy. And then ever since then, it was just like birth and this work is, and if you don't see this as integrating anti-oppression into it, like you're not doing it. It was just like this.
That's awesome. I mean, that's powerful as fuck.
Yeah. It's like, oh.
I know. Like I tell people, like I feel tremendous guilt for being a physician because of what the medical system has done to the birth world and like stolen delivering babies from granny midwives and the history around like how we have fucked up the way that people bring people into this world. Truly.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll talk for hours. Shit. Yeah. And we can talk about abortion too. I'm into clearly all of these things are so important. And like normalizing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. In a vodka bottle. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. You guys are awesome. Podcast.
No, just thanking Sheila and look out for the posting and all the links. And yeah, this is hopefully part 1 of part 10 conversations. Thank you so much.
Oh my God, thank you for having me. Support your independent abortion clinics. We're doing a GoFundMe, so I can share that with you guys. But it's actually to like help pay hazard pay for our staff, so our frontline workers. And obviously we have the Western PA Fund for Choice, which is our local fund to provide abortion services, hotel, travel costs, childcare costs for people who can't afford abortion services or getting here, since we take care of so many people from all around this region. But thanks for having me.
Thank you.